All right, welcome to the Wrestling Breakdown Podcast, and it is Ed and Vanessa with you today. We're excited, we're confused, we're a lot of things right now, but biggest thing is we're on live. You can hear us, and if you were on a little bit ago, we apologize for any technical difficulties that went on. Welcome to the show, Vanessa.
What's up, Ed? How you doing today?
Well, it's a confusing day.
It's a confusing day. Yes.
We've got a lot of great stuff to talk about from SummerSlam last night, but there's a lot of other stuff too. I won't say bad, but a lot of stuff.
No, absolutely. We're not even 24 hours removed from SummerSlam, and my head is still reeling. Adam from What Culture said it best this morning on their video for what just happened. The way that I look at SummerSlam is that I like you, SummerSlam, but I want to love you, let me love you, but I don't think I can. I mean, there were a lot of great moments. Actually, not a lot. There was probably only like 4. But then a lot of moments that simply just made you go, why? And that's not something that you want in a pay-per-view as big as SummerSlam, especially when we just saw an amazing takeover on Saturday. To me, it just feels like Triple H just kind of smirking and laughing and like, ha, bitch, I got you again. Because that's what I'm feeling. SummerSlam was good, but it should have been great.
And it had all the makings of a great show, other than we're probably going to talk about this later, but other than the length, it just went forever.
Yeah. It was what, 5 hours? And we joke about, having to sit through 3 hours of Raw, and, well, when are we going to use the restroom? And, because people need to eat, people need to use the restroom, people need to go and drink water, and because there's hardly any commercials in pay-per-views, I don't know if you can still call them pay-per-views, but whatever, you're just like, when's the right time to go? Because you don't necessarily know sometimes, and that's the thing. I'll stick by what I said. I feel like the only pay-per-view in WWE that should be that long is WrestleMania, and that's it. Everything else needs to be your standard 3 hours, maybe 3 hours and a half if it runs over, because sometimes that happens. But 5 hours? I don't really know. I don't think I could watch anything for 5 hours.
Well, that's the thing. It's something that we all love. It's like overkill.
Yeah.
It's like if you're into politics and that's your thing, and they get up and they debate, and they debate for hours and hours. After a while, you just get tired. Even if they're making great points the whole way, it's just like, well, I can't hate 5 hours, or I can't,
Yes. It's almost like you're watching it and you get exhausted while watching it. You're just like, I just sat in front of my TV and ate snacks and did absolutely nothing, but I felt like I needed a nap.
Well, and when you're watching it on the East Coast, you're going into 11 o'clock at night when it's going off, and it's like you can't just like turn it off and go straight to bed. You got to wind down a little bit. You just watched 5 hours of nonstop, action. Your body requires a little bit of wind down period.
Especially if you get worked up and upset, like some people, including myself, did because of some of the stuff that they said us last night. I don't want to say that it ruined my night, but I was just like, why? What are you doing? This is what? To me, sometimes it feels like WWE likes to insult our intelligence, and I feel like if Vince was to listen to this podcast, he would laugh and he'd say, see, I give you what you want, and you still complain. And, some amazing things happened last night because, like they said in the What Culture video, 2 stars were established last night without a shadow of a doubt. You know, because you had Finn Balor going over Seth Rollins, and then you had AJ Styles going over John Cena. And that was amazing. That was what the business needed to establish these new guys. And I get that AJ Styles isn't necessarily a new guy, but WWE he is. And it kind of just gave us that hope. And, you know, you had an amazing match in Charlotte versus Sasha Banks. Of course, the finish was a little weird, and we'll get into that. But, and then, of course, Nikki Bella returning last night. To me, those were the 4 things, in my mind, that stood out about the pay-per-view. If you would have given me just those 4 things, and that's it, I would have told you this pay-per-view was absolutely amazing. But then you gave me things like Orton versus Lesnar in a weird finish. You put the United States Championship match right before the main event, and it was this match that didn't even happen. And you put the Women's Championship match second on the card, and it was just weird. It was just a jumbled up mess, and that's why we're so confused.
Well, and you think about, you alluded to the Women's Championship being second. For us old school kind of people, the order of the matches have a meaning.
Yeah.
And, you know, second on a list, you know, some people are just coming in getting seated when at second on the list.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. So what if they miss it?
Yeah, well, and here's the other thing with the length. Not only do we get 4 hours of the pay-per-view, but now we're getting 3 matches in the pre-show.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm around wrestling quite a bit, and in person and watching on television, and 3 matches is a lot in an hour. Well, it's,
you have all the talking and all the you know, I was gonna say pre-fight, but pre-match predictions, and it's just like, is that really even necessary? Don't get me wrong, I love the pre-shows, and I don't even want to say why, because everybody that's listening should know why already. But you know, you're right. You know, 3 matches is a lot, and to me, 2 of the 3 matches, I was like, is it even necessary? Like, you know, disrespect to Sheamus and Cesaro, but I was like, I don't really want to see this right now. And then, you know, Neville and you know, Sami Zayn, I don't even remember who they wrestled last night. The only match that I thought was cool was the 12-person tag match, and I think the majority of why I thought that was cool was because more than half of it was NXT people, and of course, you know, I'm an NXT mark and supporter, but I was just like, are these matches necessary? Like, why?
well, I'm thinking they take a talent like Sami Zayn that was almost at the headline of previous pay-per-views, you know, way up in the card, and they put him on a pre-show. I mean, what?
Yep, and on one of the biggest, you know, calendar shows of the year, no less. Like, why is a guy like Sami Zayn's caliber on a pre-show in a match that literally, oh yeah, they wrestled the Dudley Boys. Okay, now I remember. A match that literally made no sense. It was like, wait, did I miss something? Because I don't remember the Dudley Boys having beef with Neville and Zayn. I was like, maybe it was when I was, you know, flicking back and forth between Raw and the Foxes, but I legitimately couldn't remember, and I was like, what? Why are they doing this?
Well, that's the thing. You look at so many of them and you say, why? Why Sami Zayn in a tag team match? You know, he's a great singles performer. The same with Neville. What's Neville doing in a tag team match? What's Neville, who was getting a huge push before he got hurt, doing on the pre-show? You know, and then you feed us matches that should be excellent, like, let's just say Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler, And I wanted to chant, "This is boring."
Clap, clap, clap. This is boring. Clap, clap, clap. And yeah, I don't know if it was just the crowd being stubborn, or if it was just the placement of the match, because wasn't it like fourth on the card? And to me, it was like, wait, what? This is WWE's most prestigious title, and it's fourth on the card. And I was like, I don't get it. And then, I don't know, like, it's Ziggler and Ambrose, two of the most charismatic wrestlers we have in our business right now. You have, Ambrose, who is insane, the Ambrose Asylum. He's the lunatic fringe, and people love him for that because he's unconventional and he's different, he's rugged, and he just doesn't give a crap. And then you have Ziggler, who is cocky and he's pompous, but rightfully so, because he legitimately is a show-off, and he legitimately is one of the best in the... So these are two guys that the universe loves and get behind, because we know that the powers that be may not necessarily get behind them, so because of that, they're our guys, but they're in a match for the WWE World title, and it's boring. I mean, that shouldn't have been a thing.
And they've got people that they're pushing, have been and currently are. Enzo and Big Cass, I mean, they're getting a huge push right now, and they're in the opening match.
Yeah. And I think for that, I mean, in a way, I hear what you're saying, but for me, that was more of like, okay, this is a perfect way to get the crowd's energy up. Like, it was a good way to start, because then automatically, like, they would start it hyped. And it's like, the minute Enzo and Cass's music hit, that everybody wants to say, the line that Enzo says when they enter the ring, because most people know that word for word. I'm not ashamed to say that I am one of those people. But, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's like, maybe it should have been second. Maybe, I think maybe the first match, if I was booking, because like you said, to us old school people, the order means a lot. And so if I was booking, I probably, and this is going to make people like kind of scratch their heads a little bit, but I probably would have put the sixth women's, tag match first, even though that had a huge return, and we'll get to that. But I probably would have put that first, and then maybe the Intercontinental title, and then maybe Enzo and Cass, and then, Kevin Owens and Jericho, and then work from there. Or maybe I would have even started it with Rusev and Reigns. I don't think I would have put them co-main event. That was just stupid.
Well, see, that tells me that it really isn't a co-main event, because they didn't even have a match.
Yeah.
And
it just wasted our time. I was like, are you serious right now?
Well, and we've avoided the huge elephant in the room here. We've avoided so far talking about the main event, that just, the why match. Why do they have a match that they try to mimic MMA, that they...
Yeah, it's funny, because I jokingly told one of my friends last night, because I was on Facebook and Twitter while watching SummerSlam, and one of my friends, Zachary, he was like, why the hell would they put Reigns and Rusev, co-main event, and then not even have them wrestle? And then I said jokingly, but at the same time seriously, because WWE probably wanted it to be easy for Lesnar and Orton to follow up this match. Ha ha ha. Because let's be honest, that was a match that was supposed to have this huge, main event spice to you, because it was like, 15 years in the making, no. But it's like, I didn't really care about it. I was like, okay, so maybe that's why they put Rusev and Reigns, co-main event, whether they wrestle or not, because they wanted to make it easy for, Randy Orton and Lesnar to follow it up, because if they would have put the Universal Championship match co-main event, the crowd would have shitted up on the main event even more than they did. Sorry for cussing, but that's just the truth of it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the match with Lesnar and Orton. As much as they tried to shove down our throat the 15 years in the making, all of that, there was really, it was like it was an invented heat. They never had any heat with each other. They
yeah.
I know they have to build things up with Lesnar differently because he's not around most of the time and things like that. But it's like they invented this reason for having a match, and you say this quite regularly. They try to insult our intelligence by making us believe that this is the main event of probably the second biggest pay-per-view of the year behind WrestleMania.
Yeah. It's like they try to get us to care. They try to make us want to, be like, oh man, who's going to win? Lesnar or Orton? Like, it's important. They try to make it so important. But I think what WWE needs to realize, and maybe not even WWE as a whole, but just people who run stuff on the main roster, need to realize you can't make people like something. It naturally has to happen. And that's what my best friend used to tell me all the time when he used to be a regular watcher of professional wrestling. Whenever he would, introduce me to women wrestlers, he's like, what I want you to do is I want your connection to happen organically. Don't force yourself to like someone. Let it happen naturally. And I think that's what we all want. We want to like things naturally. We don't want to be told, hey, this is our main event, and you're going to like it regardless. And it's insulting to us as wrestling fans.
Well, it was like, you're going to like it because we're wanting to cross over with MMA a little bit and make the most out of this, so we're going to force you to have this as the main event. It's that important to the home office.
And that's the thing. You mentioned MMA. The way that they were building this up, it was like, 15 years in the making, whatever. The way they were building all that up, it should have felt, the way that it was supposed to feel was supposed to, you bring in MMA, it was supposed to feel like, McGregor versus Diaz, or it was supposed to feel like Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman #2, or even Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. It should have felt like that, but it didn't, and they tried way too hard.
Yeah, that's a great point. They did. They tried way too hard, and it came out in the match. It came out in the ending. The last two matches, one not an official match, but the violence level at the end of the program, the Rusev and Reigns, it went from being a funny issue where Lana had her face put in a wedding cake to a man that is supposed to fight for the honor of his woman to, it was pretty brutal, the beatdown that Reigns gave Rusev.
Yeah, and it's funny because even with that, like, they made it believable, and that's great, and it was funny because this was trending last night, and it made me think of the CM Punk podcast that he did with Cole Cabana a few, years ago now, when he was like, make Roman Reigns look strong, when Vince told him, make Roman Reigns look strong. And I had to laugh because I was like, see, that's when you know that segment had Vince written all over it, because he loved his big guys, he loved Roman Reigns. And yeah, they made Roman Reigns look strong. And granted, surprisingly, the crowd popped when Roman Reigns went in for the spear on Rusev, and that was super surprising to me, and that was awesome, and in that, just that one part, that was great, but it was almost like, okay, did they really need to do that? Like, couldn't they have done this, like, in the beginning of the pay-per-view and not almost dead last? It was, I didn't get it.
Well, and then we get the finish to Lesnar and Orton, and Lesnar literally left him sitting in a pool of blood. And,
yeah.
You know, you and I both have been around wrestling long enough to know that blood is a part of the sport. Sometimes blood is a fun part of the sport. But this was just overkill to the max.
It was gross. It left me uncomfortable, and this is coming from someone who literally just went to an main event. Jody Escobar was a bloody mess thanks to Alexa Grasso punching her in the face. And that's the thing. I'm not saying that I hate blood, because I know people are probably listening to this and like, but Vanessa, you watch MMA. Yeah, I do, and that's the thing. Stuff like that is reserved for MMA. I'm not saying that blood shouldn't be in professional wrestling, because like you said, we've been watching it long enough to know that it exists. Whether they're blading or whether it legitimately happens, it happens. But it was just to the point where I was like, oh man, this is uncomfortable. And then it made you think, that's a human being that you're doing that to. Just stop already.
Yeah, and the announcers were even going there. They didn't stop the match as soon as what they should have, officially, even though the doctors were in the ring, and for all intents and purposes, the match was stopped. But then the beatdown after he was in a... To me, it went from you left your opponent sitting beside a pool of his own blood to looking stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And here's the thing about Lesnar. We all know that the reason why WWE keeps him around is because he's good for business. He is that mainstream star, that crossover that breaks the bridge, breaks the gap between the world of professional wrestling and MMA. Let's be honest, he brings a new set of eyes to MMA. He brings a new set of eyes to professional wrestling. So for that reason alone, you gotta respect Lesnar for that. Maybe respect's the wrong word, but you know, you get why. You understand why they keep Lesnar around. And the thing that some people love about him is that he's honest. You know, he doesn't really give a shit about the business. Excuse my language. He does it for the money, and everyone knows that. But because of that honesty, people like him. And that's fine. An asshole because he didn't care. And that's what I felt last night. I think he legitimately did it to be an asshole because he doesn't care.
Well, and we've talked off the air about blading and whether it was a blade job or... And the very first thing I said, when the amount of blood that poured out of so quickly, I said to Amy that had to be a blade job. But looking today and seeing the wound that it took 10 staples, that when the doctor was, stapling back together, it wasn't a clean cut. I'm thinking that legitimately it was one of those elbow shots to the head that caused the problem.
Yep. I was right there with you because those are the exact thoughts that I had. I was like, oh yeah, he definitely bladed. But then this morning on my newsfeed, it was actually on an MMA group, no less, where someone was like, showed a picture of Randy Orton's head, and it was at the top of his head into where his hair is, and the caption was like, this is what Brock Lesnar did to him, or it was something like that, and I was like, holy crap, man, like, that's legit right there. He legitimately busted open Randy Orton, and you gotta feel for Randy Orton because you're like, did he even know that he was gonna do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was really weird to watch, and then he wins. Brock Lesnar wins by TKO, and I was like, wait, what? Is that even a thing in professional wrestling? I was like, I know that exists in MMA, but wrestling? I don't think so.
It's exactly what I said to Amy. TKO? Does TKO even exist in professional wrestling? Never heard of it.
Me either. Until last night, I was like, oh, okay.
That's what it tells me.
Well, and that makes me believe that they wanted this to be an MMA match. I mean, they used an MMA term to finish the match. If they want to have an MMA match in the WWE, I don't have a problem with that. But don't try to give me a wrestling match and try to make me believe that it's kind of MMA, but it's still professional wrestling. If they want to bring in some MMA fighter to fight Brock Lesnar in a pay-per-view, I ain't got a problem with that.
Me either, because it's good for business, and we all know it would be.
But then we can believe, if Brock Lesnar busts somebody in the head and they bleed, that, well, that happened because that's what happens in MMA. In something that's scripted like wrestling, a little bit of blood running down somebody's face. I mean, you can bleed just a little and it run all over your entire face. But literally, it was a pool of blood on the canvas.
Yeah, it was definitely uncomfortable. Literally, I mean, the people say it all the time in MMA too. I'm going to leave you laying in a pool of your own blood. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. And like, if you watch MMA, you know that kind of quote-unquote violence exists, but wrestling, like you said, you bleed a little bit and it's just enough, but that was just overkill, and it was, like, uncomfortable and, like, sometimes distasteful. I really don't know how to explain it, but it was just confusing, and then even the ending, we talk about Brock Lesnar flying off the cuff and not knowing if he's, playing to a script or if he's just doing his own thing because he just doesn't care. When he asked Shane McMahon, you had Heyman screaming at him saying, well, why did you do that? What did you do? So it was kind of like, were they supposed to do that? Or are Lesnar and Heyman just really good at what they do to make you believe, oh, crap, that wasn't supposed to happen?
Well, we've talked about the negatives, and there's plenty of positives to come out of last night, too. So we don't want to leave those out. And when you talk about the positives from last night, you got to start with AJ Styles and John Cena. What a match that was.
Absolutely. This is a match that most of us, all of us rather, never thought we would see. Ever. And here we are last night seeing it for a second time. And it's one of those matches that I wouldn't mind watching over and over again. Cena said it best when, him and Styles met for the first time. He said, there's only been two individuals that have ever, captured that kind of electricity with me in the ring, and that's The Rock and AJ Styles. And we saw The Rock and Cena wrestle 2 times, and a lot of people weren't too thrilled about those 2 times. But with Styles and Cena wrestling 2 times, it wasn't like, it wasn't like, oh, that's too much, 2 times is too much. Now, I would watch that 4, 5, 6 more times if I wanted to, and if I could, let them keep wrestling, because, man, it was just as good as the first, and those two literally bring out the best in each other, and I absolutely loved it.
AJ Styles, to me, is the ultimate professional. And again, we've talked about this before off the air. He brings out the very best. Think back when he had the championship match against Roman Reigns, and people were going on and on and on about how great that match was. You don't normally do that with a Roman Reigns match.
Nope, definitely not.
And so, Cena is not known for having the large repertoire of moves, and he doesn't have a whole lot of tricks in the bag normally, and he's bringing out things that we haven't seen him do before. He's using his finishers multiple times as well. He's messing around with doing attitude adjustments off the ropes and all kind of stuff, and it was just it was it was a main event match that wasn't the main event.
Absolutely, I was going to say, if anything, that should have been the main event because it would have sent people home happy. And you mentioned the attitude adjustment from the top rope. I remember that moment because when Cena hit it, and I honestly thought, okay, it's over. Like, this is going to be, 1-1 now, but it wasn't. And, like, that shock on John Cena's face, like, holy crap, what else do I need to do to finish this guy? I'm pretty sure everyone else felt that, too, because, like I said, I thought it was over, and it wasn't. And I was like, man, like, I don't know, it was great. And, anybody who knows AJ Styles, anybody who watched them in TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they know that no matter who he steps in the ring with, when he wrestles, you're going to get an amazing match. And that was shown last night. There's proof in that. And kudos to Cena, too. I often say the Cena hate is getting a little old, and that's not me saying that I'm a fan now, but I do respect him because, again, he does things when he's with the right competitors that you wouldn't necessarily ever see him do. And to me, that says a lot about him, and the fact that he put over AJ Styles says a lot about him, too. And, my hat's off to both of those men because that match was incredible.
Well, we can't talk about that match and not talk about the way Cena left the arena. He took off one of his armbands that said "Never Give Up" and left it setting perfectly in the middle of the ring, walked up the ramp, saluted, and then they went to the next segment. What was the meaning there, Vanessa?
Man, I don't know. I have a bunch. The first thing that came to my mind, though, was retirement. Legitimately, that was the first thing that came to my head. I even texted Trevor and was like, retirement? Question mark? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, wait, what was that? And even on my newsfeed on Facebook, people were like, wait, is John Cena dead wrestling? Like, what is that? And then some people were like, no, he's just leaving for a while to film American Grit. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's what it is, but I don't know. It felt odd. And then Trevor was like, maybe it's the long-awaited heel turn that we've all wanted. And I was like, no, at this point, Cena retired is probably more likely than that. Oh, well. But I don't know, man. I really don't know what it meant. That's something that I was confused about, and I hope to get answers to tonight, but I don't know.
Well, I guess the future is going to tell us a little bit about what it's going to be. I hope they address it in some form. At least whet our curiosity a little bit as to what he meant.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to say something, because I don't know if he's going to be there tonight, and if he'll come out to his end of John Cena sucks, or like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do hope that we get a little indication of what's next for him, because I may not be a Cena fan, but that gesture left me curious, to say the least.
Yeah. The other male match that was almost as good as Cena and Styles, and that's saying something that you have two matches of that caliber in the same night, is Finn Balor and Seth Rollins.
Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy because I knew we were going to get a good match in these two, because they're two different types of wrestlers. They're combustible elements. They both came from the Indies. They both came from NXT. Everyone knows that I am a Seth Rollins mark, and then some people might know that I'm a Finn Balor mark as well. I love them both. So I knew that we were going to get a good match, and it was one of those matches that brings me back to how I felt for NXT on Saturday, the TakeOver event, that it was one of those matches where if Balor would have went over, which he did, spoiler alert, or if Rollins would have went over, I would have been completely okay with it, and I wouldn't have been mad. I would have been like, okay, cool. I would have been happy either way. And that's a rarity watching wrestling.
It is. Because we've talked about this on the show before, you usually have who you want to go over, who you don't want to go over, and if it doesn't end up that way, you feel left either disappointed, angry, whatever. And that was one of the matches that could have ended either way, and you felt okay when it was done.
And then to me, that just shows a lot about Balor and Rollins both, and again, the future of the company. One thing that I want to tackle really quick while talking about the match, because I feel like I have to, because I've been seeing it all over my newsfeed, is how people are complaining about what the title looks like, and it makes me want to bang my head against the wall, because I'm like, here you are, watching an amazing match, and the crowd's commenting, chanting about the championship belt. And if you look at Rollins' tweets from last night, they mentioned this in the What Culture video. He tweeted out, "Brooklyn, you disappointed me," and rightfully so, because it's like you have two guys, Seth Rollins and Finn Balor, who are both beloved by the wrestling community, by the WWE universe, and you're complaining about what a belt looks like. You just got a great match, but yet you want to complain about a belt.
Save that for the talk shows the next day. Save that for, wherever. But you just witnessed a historic match. Finn Balor, in his very first pay-per-view on the main roster, is a champion, and you want to talk about what the belt looks like.
It was just so stupid to me. I was like, this is... Sometimes that's why I don't like associating myself with the internet wrestling community, so to speak, because it's shameful sometimes. I'm like, well, why do you care? Granted, I get it. It doesn't look that great. I think a lot of people expected it to be something different because it was the first ever Universal Championship, and it's pretty much the WWE World title in a different color.
But they told us that in advance, that's what it was going to be, identical almost to the other belt, and it was going to be red. I mean, we knew that going in.
Yeah. So exactly, you're right. So it's like, why? Excuse my language. It's like, why are you bitching? Like, they told you that, why? Like, it's just, I don't know. But aside from that, the match was amazing. The fact that, like you said, Finn Balor, in his very first pay-per-view, became a WWE champion, to me, that speaks a lot to what Triple H has been able to create down in NXT, and it gives me hope that, okay, they're starting to, lay down the groundwork for the future, because you can't think of a future and not think of Finn Balor.
Exactly. And back to the belt issue, there was plenty of negatives to talk about last night without having to talk about what the belt looked like.
It's like at least waste your negative energy on stuff that matters and not what it's
yeah.
Who cares? It's a championship.
Yeah, waste your negative energy on giving Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson a gimmick, talking about testicles and.
Oh my God.
These guys they've built them up to be this killing machine, and now they've got them in a gimmick where they're doctors and. Please.
Yeah. Again, to me, that's Vince written all over that, because he doesn't like seeing our guys succeed. Like, let's just be honest, and he wants to make jokes and mockeries out of them. Even that match is confusing to me, the tag match, the New Day versus, Gallows and Anderson, because it ended in a DQ, and it ended in the faces causing the DQ, It's great to see that Big E's back and his testicles are fine, but why? I don't know.
Yeah, and the whole Jon Stewart part,
Oh, God.
I thought that he would probably turn and cause something to happen. That whole thing. And again, we're talking about people that can headline a card. Gallows and Anderson versus the New Day could headline a card.
Absolutely. And everyone knows that. Regardless of how you feel about the New Day, regardless of how you feel about Gallows and Anderson, the point is, yes, Bill. You know what I mean? They either make you love them or they either make you hate them, and they have that element about this. And it's just like they were throwing this gimmick and this ending where Biggie drinks testicle juice and spits it out. I'm like, why? What's the point?
Well,
nothing against Jon Stewart, but he was like, why were you even there? None of it makes sense.
Yeah, he definitely didn't add to the show. We got 5 minutes left, and I want you to talk nonstop for 5 minutes about the female championship and the 6-person.
All right, okay, well, that's awesome. I'm glad that we get to close out the show with this because for two of those things, I had mixed emotions about it all. Great match between Charlotte and Sasha. My goodness. Again, that could have been a main event match. Those two, good God, they put their bodies on the line. They took some nasty bumps. That maneuver from the top rope was like the electric chair into a moonsault type of thing. I was scared out of my mind, and I remember everybody was like, they literally chanted, "Holy shit!" because it was crazy. I was like, are they alive? Oh my gosh! Like those two went out and were like, I bet you they had a conversation. Charlotte and Sasha looked at each other and they were like, let's show up the boys tonight because until AJ Styles versus John Cena happened, I would have given that match of the night, honestly. And I'm not just saying that because I love women's wrestling, but that's how good it was. Granted, the finish was weird because Sasha lost the title, and it's like, why did you give Sasha the title in the first place? Only have her lose it, 2-3 weeks after? But some people are saying that, it was on PW Insider that she's taking time off to recuperate from nagging injuries, and of course, she just got married, those of you who do not know. So, I mean, maybe she wants to go on her honeymoon, but I'm interested to see what that means for the women's title, because a lot of people are like, well, my best friend and me had to talk about it. He was like, well, maybe that just gets the crowd more hyped up for when Sasha comes back, or possibly, Charlotte losing it to someone else. The first person that came to mind was Bayley. We obviously saw that she had her last match at NXT. So it would be insane to me if Charlotte's out there running her mouth and like, oh, I beat Sasha, blah, 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 and everyone knows Sasha's Bayley's best friend. So then what happens? Bayley comes out, maybe tonight, who knows, and beats Charlotte. That's just a wild idea that I have, but it could happen. On to the 6-women tag. I really do wish that this match would have gotten more love because we had 6 amazing girls in the match. Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Naomi, Becky Lynch, Natalia, Nikki Bella. Yes, you heard that right. Nikki Bella returned last night and returned to a pop that was well-deserved. Even I popped, and I'm not even the biggest Bella fan, but I was like, thank goodness you're back. I think that just shows that she might be a part of SmackDown, which makes sense because, like I said before, SmackDown needs that women's wrestler that has the star power, and no disrespect to Becky or Natalia or the girls that are on there, but it just needed something. It was missing something. So I think, Nikki being on SmackDown makes perfect sense, and, she got the victory for her team. She has an amazing new finisher. Obviously, it's like a different variation of the rack attack, but she doesn't use her neck anymore because obviously that was the problem. But the new finisher looks great, and the women not stole the show, but they were an essential part of why I enjoyed it last night. What made it worth it for me, and I think the future is bright for it all, whether it's on SmackDown or whether it's on Raw. Like I said, a lot of head scratching there because of the Sasha thing, but I think WWE will work around that and will make it work. And then I can't wait to see, with Nikki being back, what she's going to do. It's going to be awesome.
All right. Well, we've got 20 seconds left. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for always giving us your support, and go out and do the right thing. See you, Vanessa.
Later, guys. Have a good day.
All right, and we are out of here.